And we're off and running. Hello, Karen. Good to see you. Joss
Good
Axel.
evening. Good evening.
And there we go with our famous theme music. Can you hear?
It's even more relevant this week than it was last week.
Sorry?
It's even more relevant now than it was last week, considering all the activity.
After all the activity.
Very appropriate.
Yeah.
Considering.
Okay. Look, we've got a lot to get through tonight. It's been another very busy week, but we're going to hopefully have a Q&A. I was watching a stream the other night, and somebody had suggested a Q&A is a really good sort of way. So hopefully our viewers out there tonight, there's a couple on already that, just pop a question to us and we'll answer any questions that, hi to everybody. We've got Ben the Bulb, and I think I know who that is. Hi, Card. Hi, Suzanne. Fulcher Rove, a leg. And we were hoping to have maybe another very senior member of the party join us tonight.
Hopefully.
But unfortunately, he had a technical glitch, but we're delighted that he's going to join us at some point, maybe by comments or whatever. So, Fulchis Jack Achandina. Welcome, everybody. Hello, Suzanne's here as well, and hopefully we'll have a few more as we go along. But it was originally meant to be a Q&A, just not a sort of a specific topic tonight, but I have a few things I'm going to maybe touch on. Basically, what we're going to look at. Well, COVID's sort of rumbling on, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's rumbling on, all right. I mean, we're having more restrictions on our freedoms now. We're being told what we can't buy. I don't know what's happening in your area, but definitely what we can buy in shops. I mean, obviously that kind of targets certain shops more than others. You know, like Aldi, Lidl, Tesco's, Express. So if they have clothes in their store, we can't buy them. And certain non-essentials like personal hygiene stuff, like, toiletries, stuff for babies that mothers would need. And they can't. When they go to checkout, they couldn't buy them. Now everything's all sealed off now, and now they have our Gardaí going in and stop and guarding these things. That's not what our Gardaí are paid to do. Any guard. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I know I agree. Yeah, I mean, what really struck me over the last week is this business where it's now illegal to celebrate Mass in public, whether you're Christian or otherwise.
By the day.
Yeah, I mean, that is just so, and it makes me want any lapsed Catholics. It would make you just want to go back and completely reclaim your faith and just be rebellious about it. I mean, because the Christians were the original rebels anyway. Back in the day, they were persecuted by the Romans, and that, it's almost becoming rebellious again to want to celebrate your religion. The fact that they're bringing that away as now a criminal offence for the first time since the penal laws in Ireland is absolutely outrageous.
I mean, 1829 or something the last time.
Yeah. I mean, did you see that the thing there? I think you shared it maybe with the priest, and I think it was Carrick Macross, County Monaghan. That priest spoke very well.
Sean Mulligan.
Oh, was that Mulligan?
Yeah.
And
he's a brave way to do it.
He called it very well, because there's priests elsewhere that are saying, "Oh, wear your mask and do this and that," but he's come out and says, "Look, these draconian measures are representative of a country in Europe, Ireland, that has now become the most anti-Christian, anti-Catholic, just communist, totalitarian state you could get in Europe. You'll not get any Christianity in Dáil Éireann," the man said. So it's how far has this country fallen? It just
and very quickly. I think that's what frightens me the most. This isn't done like over years. It's done over weeks and days. And I mean, I think I showed you footage there the other night of Wales, where local residents in Cardiff rang the local police in Cardiff and said they were concerned there's a gathering in a hall. Now, it wasn't even in a church, but they were celebrating the mass because they couldn't do it in a church, so they improvised. And as far as I could see, and this young lady in her 30s had filmed it, and it was only a couple of minutes long, but it was in Cardiff. This isn't in another country. It's actually in Cardiff here.
Wales is as bad as here, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's as bad, and they're the ones who are first to go ahead with the banning of non-essential items. Every item is essential. If you're a mother and you're trying to go out with well done.
Yes,
gorgeous.
Guramayagat. I'm going to get another one as well. But no, you're right, Karen. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Wales was the first to go ahead. And if you're a mother, I have been a recent addition to our own family, a first-time mother, and if she wanted, babies grow very quickly, children grow very quickly. What was, fitting them a few months ago, like last year's uniform is not going to fit them this year, and jeans from last winter is not going to fit them this year. So they're going to have to, get new clothes, a new winter coat, gloves. I mean, they can get lost by kids very quickly, damaged, whatever. They get new gloves every year or every second year. So you need all these things, and they can't buy them. And our Gardaí are going ahead and allowing themselves to be the go-between. Sorry?
That's not what they signed up to, the Guards. Some of them are saying it. Ben Bulbin is saying Joe Duffy was discussing that issue. Did you see that? I'm not sure who's Joe Duffy. See on radio?
Well, Joe Duffy would be part of the RTE radio, and he'd be a well-known figure for years, doing a show from 1 till 3 in the afternoon, Monday to Friday. And a lot of people would go to him about loads of different issues, and a lot of things have been exposed, over the years because of, they would bring up him. He's a go-to guy on the radio. But I mean, very interesting debate, but mostly anti-Christ church chorus.
That's what I would notice as well. Any debate you have in Ireland now, it's just between the centre left and the far left. It's a rigged debate. It's a rigged debate. You don't get any even centres or centre right people at all. You just be shown the door.
And that's true. When I listen to the radio at work, you get people showing their concern they can't get access to food, or not food, but essential items. And then you get the other people coming in saying, "Well, that's not a big deal. We need to get this done." Then this is about freedom. This isn't about health. A lot of people don't get that, and that's the saddest part, because if your freedom to buy essentials is taken away from you over a virus, it's not about the virus.
Well, just to welcome there's a few new people have come in tonight. There's a Colette Whitney, very welcome, Colette. You were on a show I was watching last night. A sort of a typical freedom party based in the north of Ireland. So, but we agree with a lot of the fundamentals. So, welcome, Jock. Welcome in, Colette. Good to see you. Angry Ingelant, welcome to you as well. But that's correct. Yes, Karen, the freedoms are just being whittled away one by one. I promised I would ask a question by a friend of mine who always argues with me on this. But there's one thing I wanted to talk about as well. The Monaghan Priest, yeah. Also, I want to mention Dundalk are playing tonight in the Europa League. So
Arsenal.
Yes, the mighty Arsenal. So big shout out to Dundalk, a great team full of Irish, not like a team from Arsenal who is basically no English or Irish in it. But this team in Dundalk have done very well, and they're playing at 8 o'clock. It's probably just started, actually. So hopefully they'll do that. It's 0-0 at the minute. So come on, I know you're a Drogheda, Karen, but it's only up the road, isn't it?
I still would support Dundalk. I like to see them do well. Yeah. Well,
hopefully. Well, I mean, they're probably not going to win it, but it's just as great that they got in there, So Angry Ingelant saying, "Hi, Suzanne, come on, Dundalk." Yes, but look, I want to ask this question, and I've been answering this debating this with a friend of mine who's not on the red pill like ourselves, but she asks, and it's come up in the news this week, up in the north there, Antrim Hospital and Derry, Altnagelvin, are saying they're full to the rafters, they can't take any more, and they're going to have to turn people away because of COVID. So that is a reason for us to go on into lockdown. Never mind the fact that the executive up in the north has cut funding for the health service. So what would be your quick answer to that, Karen? Does hospital...
Well, you mean basically...
Go on ahead.
Well, I've seen an article, I had seen it in the news yesterday as well, where the HSC are considering, because we're not as bad down here, our capacity, that they're considering offering beds for people in the north. Now, to be honest, now, no offense to people who are up in the north, but we need the beds for every other sickness. So while they're not filled with COVID patients, we need beds for other patients who have other illnesses.
Anyway.
That's for elective surgery, not just for A&E. So to hand over beds to people who are from the north when we need them ourselves, it's like there's a mismanagement between the two states. You know, I mean, at the moment we have 43 in ICU across the country, which isn't that bad at this time of the year. I mean, you're going to get that.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic, and I don't know how many ICU beds have been taken up for COVID patients. And I know they were talking today about a young man, which is very sad, and God rest his soul, of 17 who died, but he had an underlying condition.
Well, that's right. I want to touch on that as well. The father did come out and say that he doesn't want it mentioned, said that he was a COVID victim because he had an underlying condition, and it was a heart condition, so it wasn't COVID. So this is,
and
if he hadn't maybe said that, that would have went down as another tragedy for COVID. Sorry, go ahead.
But after he said that, it turns out that if you are within 28 days of being, if you die within 28 days of being initially gene positive, it is a COVID death or COVID case, which is wrong. It doesn't really matter. If your underlying condition that kills is a tribute to the death, that is it. Not the COVID. I mean, we see plenty of children coming in with COVID or they're deemed positive, but they're coming in with something else, and that's what's driving their admission. They might be positive in the meantime, and yes, they may come in with COVID in the end. That's fine, but when they're coming in with something else and they're deemed positive, it's the primary diagnosis is the main diagnosis. And I know we don't see too many.
What do you say to people that say that we have to have a lockdown because the hospitals are at breaking point?
Well, how many hospitals is it the north and the south, is it?
Well, they were saying there was 2 this week and then in the north, Altnagelvin and Antrim.
Right, okay. But that's down to bed capacity. That's bed capacity, nothing to do with the amount of cases, because we're looking at, like, if they test so many cases, there's still only 5.4% of the positive cases, and not everyone's going to go to hospital. I mean, not everyone they're usually told to go home, isolate, and stay there until you're better, and only the people who are older who can't deal with the illness end up in hospital. So not everybody's going to end up in hospital. So it's really bed capacity and the bad management of the capacity, and not enough beds across the system, both north and south.
Not enough money invested. They cut the investment to. If they'd invested more, they could have the capacity. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they reduced the I don't know about numbers years ago, but I did hear Sinn Féin come out there only a month ago saying that they reduced it over 11 years down to 200 odd across the country.
Yeah, that was in Spotlight last night. Did you
5
see that?
million, huh?
Yeah, that was in Spotlight last night. Yeah.
Just looking at this one here.
The government's been getting people.
Just want to use your food packages for it. Okay.
Colette, so you're saying basically if they invest more, that would solve that problem, yeah?
Yes, and take private beds, make them all public, and keep the private system out of the public system. If you put public and private together, it's always going to be a bad marriage. That means the private patient will always get that bed over a public patient for elective surgery in particular. And then any private beds in the ICU is the same. So it's really, it's just bad management and nothing to do with, we're flooded here. And anytime people go into hospitals and say, all you're seeing is empty chairs. If you go into an outpatient or a visiting place or an A&E, they're empty chairs they're seeing. That's it. You're going to the Maher or whatever, it's empty chairs. Sorry?
Colette is saying there's dark forces working against us. Well, I think there's dark forces that have infiltrated the churches. I mean, there are some priests that are very much given the pro-government agenda, and there are some that are saying standing up for the church. Some of them are saying they should fling the doors open and say, look, we're not having our churches closed. Going to church should be an essential service, because there hasn't been one death attributed to going to church. And they've done everything in their power to follow the rules and have the social distance and everything else, and yet they're forced to close down south, not so much in the north, but just shows you the way it's going. Yes, dark forces, I would agree with Colette there.
And we've seen like they'll keep the capacity of 50 people social distancing, and the churches are big enough to take it anyway. Even if you add another 10 or 20 people, they could take it.
Yeah. Also, there's that guy McNamara is on prime time tonight.
Tonight, yeah, 9:30, yeah.
We'll probably finish before that, I think. But it is interesting. It is interesting. At least we're going to get somebody who's going to give an alternative point of view, you know.
Yeah, and he's talking up, and he's consistently talking and giving them challenging the government. I mean, himself, there's Matty McGrath, there's Michael Collins, the three of them independent, and the three of them are, giving them plenty of to think about. And we need people like that.
See, if we were to get elected, if we were to get elected, they can't ignore you. That's the thing. Your man McNamara, they can't ignore him forever, because he is an elected representative and he's speaking and he has been heard. We're sort of, none of us are elected yet, so we're kind of on the outside. But once we are elected, they can't ignore us. They're going to have to listen, you know. I think if there's an election now, I could see us doing very well.
Yes, considering we've had good increase in our numbers, which is great.
We've been flooded with new members over this last couple of weeks. I wonder why, you know.
Wonder why is right.
But I don't want to flog this point, but there was an awful tragedy again. It's about the persecution of certain churches. We saw
in Nice,
in Nice. I mean, the Christian church, and I think Fergus is actually here. So, Fergus, welcome to Fulchus.
Hey, folks.
Fergus,
how you doing? My sincere apologies. I had some technical issues.
No worries. Good to see you. We were just saying we were going to have the three of us on, but Fergus, maybe you caught the start of it, but Taluhur Ahas or on Google Fergus is jocking us. Just introduce Fergus as one of the senior members of the party as well, and it's his first time sitting in with us, and we're gonna chat a bit about. We were just talking to Fergus about that attack in Nice today, and about the persecution of the Catholic Church and the Christians throughout the world, the most persecuted religion bar none. Yeah,
it's a horror story. Your heart goes out to people who just going about their business. I'm not fully up to speed with it, but I gather there was an older lady, and she ran for it, but she just didn't make it. The attacker got her or whatever. But it's a heartbreaking story.
Yeah, I think she was going to mass. She was at mass. There was a 70-year-old woman who was at mass and who was beheaded there, and there was another one who ran across the street.
Yeah, she was trying to go to her.
Different. Yeah, I got you.
Somebody said on the Twitter, I mean, Boris Johnson says he was shocked. I'm not shocked with that. What's the shock? That happens all the time. It's shocking. It is shocking.
I tweeted on this earlier on, and I made the point that these are weasel words. To say you're shocked, this has been going on for the past 30-odd years, give or take, in one form or another, whether it's to do with Islamo-terrorism or what. And it's just, the words mean nothing anymore. They're cheap, and politicians are taught to just mutter these platitudes and move on and hope it doesn't happen again. But sure, that's not enough.
Yeah. And as you said, or somebody in the Twitter feed said, this will be news for a couple of days, but then they'll go back to the big old bogeyman, the far right, who never see anybody in the far right. Not that I hate that term, but anybody on any centre or whatever lunatic. Not that we'd support them, but they never do anything like that. You know, they don't go around beheading people. You know,
no, they don't. There are isolated attacks that are attributed to, the extremists on that side.
But the numbers are way lower.
You know, people like us. I mean, realistically, it's not us they're talking about. I mean, they may imply that we're capable of it, but at the end of the day, we're just people who are passionate about our countries. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't kill anybody for that, but that's the way it is.
Nobody would argue that.
No.
But as I say, after a couple of days, this will go back to the bogeyman of the far right will appear again as a big bad.
Sure.
You know, and.
But we're not we're not as far as fans for the influx of Islamic phobia in here. we don't have a huge Muslim community in the country. So France and England are way ahead of us. But what we are seeing, and it was highlighted by another activist when, she highlighted it last year mainly, was statues were being beheaded. And it wasn't much the churches, but statues and graveyards. And that's what was getting damaged. The lack of respect for the dead, and obviously statues that belong to the Catholic Church, and and everyone has a right to go to mass and go, and enjoy go to mass for whatever reason. But to have statues cut off, the heads cut off, and that seems to happen a lot in France as well, but also here in Ireland.
It has happened here,
while it's small in number, it's still happening, and it's worrying. We don't even know who's doing it. Is it just pure vandalism, or is it just an attack on the church?
Unfortunately, headstones are an easy target. Many of these graveyards are isolated, so people who have, malevolent intent can easily go in there and do what they got to do and leave, and it makes headlines, and it's a cheap shot and an easy win for that type of person.
I understand that, but one particular video I seen last year of a statue of Our Lady, I think it was, and it was, you would want to have to get up, climb up a ladder and cut a stone. I mean, it took a lot of effort, and it was highlighted in Thurles and Tipperary, and it's, well, mainstream media don't even seem to want to go near that kind of vandalism, as if it's not important, and to me it is important, because it was a mosque. It will be on TV.
Yeah, there was an attack on a nun. There was an attack on a nuns monastery in Malahide last year, and it hardly got mentioned. I think Dublin Live mentioned it, but there was a similar attack in a place in Galway where a window got broken in a mosque, and it was front page news for a week. So
double standard.
Double standard, absolutely. Somebody's asking there a question about the third secret of Fatima. I don't know anything about that to speak about that. Does anybody know about that?
Nope.
No.
Well, I mean, I've kind of had grown up with that kind of thinking from my own grandparents, my own grandmother, about Fatima and Lourdes, and, the third secret of Fatima was kind of given to the Pope, as far as I know. A lot to do with end of world kind of thing. We don't know what it is, so that's the thing. I mean, there is a sudden change in this country very, very quickly, where our churches are closing down. Like you were saying earlier on, Cathal, now they've had the meeting with Micheál Martin today. They need to now turn around your local parish priest with his other colleagues, just open the doors and say, we're having a mass this Sunday at 11 o'clock, and that is it.
Yeah.
Open them and people will come.
I mean,
even if you're regulars, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Would they have the nerve?
What are they going to really do? Sorry?
Would they have the nerve to go in and arrest the priests and that for doing it? How bad?
I don't think so. I'm just scared they want to do that. I'm sorry.
It would be a PR disaster for them if they did, wouldn't it?
Would be.
Yeah.
And we kind of touched on it there before our meeting last Sunday, about Gardaí. We want them on board with us. They need to put away their batons and their hats and say, listen, you need to come on board with us. You are put in a very precarious, dangerous position. You're going to lose all public trust and confidence if they go ahead and do these. I'm sitting in a checkpoint every night when I'm coming home. There's not making a big difference. I'm coming home late some nights and early in others, but you're stuck there for 20 minutes and a so-called roadworks, and all it is Gardaí stopping people. They're not stopping buses, but it's just stopping people. And to me, that's not a checkpoint. A checkpoint is stopping people for taxes and drink driving and all that kind of stuff. But checkpoints like this is only going to piss off the public.
Sure, yeah. I was stopped today, just a routine visit just down the road. I was going to Dunn's, and sure enough, there was the blue lights were flashing, and I thought, here we go, because I would have been on the cusp of the 5K mark or whatever it is, and the guard said, where are you going? I said, Dunn's stores, and he said, that's fine. He said, where have you come from, or where do you live, is what he said. And I said, I live near such and such, and he went, okay, and on I went. And I thought, phew. But somebody commented earlier on Twitter as well that the regulation actually relates to exercise beyond 5K. So if you're going beyond 5K for anything other than exercise, they really don't have any official business challenging you on it, which is a bit of a that
Like
just doesn't make
cycling.
sense.
Like cycling or something.
Yeah, you shouldn't cycle further, but there's nothing wrong with driving further. I don't know how. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know anything about that stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't fancying my chances arguing about it.
There is a point where you can't govern without the consent of the majority of the people.
True.
If it's bad law like that, the police can't police things that are just ridiculous. You know, so I'm not sure how far they're going to get with. I mean, they have. Poland's made the point. The videos of guards using batons against protesters.
Yeah, Cathal.
Yeah, people are. If people aren't going to stand up to that, they're going to get away with doing it.
That's true. Yeah.
You have to maybe take a stand on it. Also, it's the left who pushed the abortion, anti-family, and same-sex marriage. Yeah, absolute abomination against God. Well, we touched on this on the stream last night. There was a party in the north that brought that law in over the heads of the people in the north. So that's just anti-people. They're killing their own people. How can you be a nationalist and kill your own people? Yeah. So, anybody got questions? Anybody of our viewers? We've got a few viewers. Just a few questions for the Q&A, and we'll try and answer them as best we can. But goes against the Bible. Yes, Colette, exactly. Goes against the Bible, as the good book says. I've got my.
We've seen this last week. You're very diligent.
Absolutely. We'll be doing selected readings from it later, Karen.
Oh,
in Irish, Askelga.
Oh, Jesus, good luck.
Can I just say on the subject of your Bible there, I was asked to sponsor my nephew over in the States last year. So it was the first time I'd been to the US for that kind of purpose. I've been there a million times. But so I attended the local church several times. I have to say they take it far more seriously than we do. And some of the singing was absolutely first rate. Everybody partakes, whereas here in my local church, you wouldn't see. I mean, there's a couple of mumble singing along.
You just mumble along. Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, and half of them are out of tune. But these guys were really belting it out, and it was great to hear it. It was heartwarming.
Yeah. But there is a malaise in Irish society where people just go along to mass just as a sense of sort of duty, and they look at their watch daydream and they want to get going. Whereas in America, they go, and there's nobody sneaking off early. Everybody stays at the very end. And they sing, as you said, in their hearts.
Yeah, and the priest is outside, and you kind of go up and shake hands, or at least pass the time of day with them.
Yeah, it's much more...
It was a great ceremony. I really enjoyed that confirmation, I have to say. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
The afters were very good, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's much... The what?
The afters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of the time, I mean, I can see where you're coming from, Fergus, because they do put enough of effort and the singing and everything like that, and everyone takes part. But the Catholic Church doesn't allow even the singing, and they don't go outside the normal hymn kind of structure.
Yeah.
And they're very selective, or not selective, they're very strict. So if you want to say, for instance, someone's getting married and they want a certain song as they walk down the aisle, you have to ask the priest, can you play that song? So they don't really help themselves. And I know there's many religions in America, it's not just Catholic Church, there's different types of Christian groups, and they all have their own thing and beliefs, but they do put an awful lot of effort. And especially African Americans, they really throw themselves into it. And it's very admirable. It is, and it's fantastic. And if I had a church that was doing... Sorry?
It's more inspiring.
Yes, and like if you had gospel singing in your church, and I'd go every Sunday. It was more kind of...
Well, I used to go to play the music and stuff, that's what I got out of it too,
Yeah, exactly. It is more kind of, you feel there's something there.
Yeah.
And just on the music as well, there's one of my favourite gospel songs is a song called How Great Thou Art. And I remember my father telling me it wasn't a song you'd really hear in a Catholic church in Ireland because it was more associated with the Church of Ireland. And yet, in the Catholic church that I was in New Jersey, each time I was there 4 times, maybe in 10 days, and they sang it every time. I mean, it was wonderful to hear it. It was great. So my old man was not telling me the truth. Really, it isn't just a Church of Ireland song; it's Catholic too.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's played all the time in one day. I used to go to But Colette's asking a question there. What are your views on Pope Francis? I think he's too liberal. I don't think he's the real deal, really. I'm putting up the answer here. I thought it was funny they got rid of Ratzinger.
He's not. Yeah. They put him out to pasture.
Ill health.
That's unprecedented that a guy leaves when he's still living, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
A bit of shenanigans went on there. No, I think he's very liberal, and he seems to. Excuse my spelling there, but he seems to. He's more about welcoming in, to get on about Islam. But Colette there made the point about we need blasphemy laws back to protect Christianity, but some of the blasphemy thing that can be used by Islam as well. So in other words, you have to be careful. I don't know. What are your views on that one?
I don't know enough about it really, to be blunt.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, give me an example. I mean,
I don't know enough about it myself, but I know some people have used it to their advantage. But I think Ireland did have blasphemy laws, but there was a thing with it. We're talking about
wasn't there a referendum on the issue? Wasn't there a referendum?
There was something about it. I'm not an expert on it. I can't. Yeah. I know there was talk about it. I know some religious groups were trying to use it in a way that you can't speak out about certain faiths, but don't know enough about it. I wonder, is she based in England or Ireland or where? I'm not sure. Maybe you could tell us, Colette. I don't know. But no, in America they do seem to have more. They're definitely more inspiring. The religious on all sides. Over here they need to do a bit more about that. I always thought it's not inspiring enough.
Yeah. They do have folk masses, though, I'm sure. Yeah, I can't say I've ever been to one, but that might be some kind of a halfway house.
Yeah.
Although folk music doesn't really do it for me, I have to say. But
I need to bring your boron. The borons are always used in the folk mass. You could buy
like a good bit way to go before I can do that now.
I was showing some British friends around Dublin once many years ago, and the guy was a drummer for Leo Sayer, if anybody remembers him. But this guy, I brought him to a pub called Vale Booked in Dublin, which is long gone. It's now apartments. But he asked me to bring him somewhere where he could hear the bodhran. And the good old bodhran. Anyway, Bowron. Okay.
Even Karen knows it's not,
Bodhran.
He's going to keep on doing that all the time,
Is that an in joke? I have to say, I'm not sure what it means.
Right. No. You don't know what that means?
Sorry, I can translate it, but I don't know what the rub is between you and Karen about that phrase.
Guramayaga?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's just a joke.
Oh, you're just saying cheers.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're just,
it's kind of reminding me not to forget my Irish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Slipping and no slipping around. We do a lesson every week. See. But
we have 20 lessons this week.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. So I've been firing in sort of those are new phrases for her,
The couple of fuckle.
Couple of fuckle, a couple of phrasing, and then she sort of does we do a translation and that, But she will be, by the end of this season, she will be fluent.
But I'm also doing a bit of Irish on the side in relation to a program that I used to get in the 90s. And what they're doing is they're talking about the punt, and I'm going, that's way back, before, you're talking way over 20 years ago. And I don't know if you remember this program, Fergus. Now You're Talking. And it's, it's like it's a kind of a mini drama thing as well. It's quite good actually, but it's quite good for picking up phrases that you never heard of before. And I kind of type them up, and I use a table, and it kind of brings out your vocabulary as well. So while I'm doing the lessons with Cathal, doing that on the side, and they could actually spend a lot of time doing it because they're half an hour long. Next thing you know, you're like 2 hours later, you would have seen 4 episodes of it. You know what I mean? So
sure.
It's quite interesting actually. It's a good way of learning Irish, and it takes the fear out, because when I started learning Irish like 6-7 months ago, you still have your hang-ups with Irish.
Yeah.
Not so much now than I did back then, it wasn't as enjoyable when you're learning in Irish in school. You have no confidence of speaking it as well. So it's kind of a little bit easier, you know.
I had it on my original election leaflet about getting us all back to speaking Irish, and then somebody said, I think it was James says, no, take that off because you don't want to scare them off, you know, because everybody down south has such bad memories of learning Irish, you know.
It's terrible,
yeah.
Different to the north, you know, it was different. You know, the attitudes.
There's a different appreciation or a lack of appreciation down here than it would be in the north, you know.
Yeah, but I remember there was one person, Carmen, you were there, but at the time we canvassed outside Drogheda United football, there was one or two did come over and says, I'm glad you have it in about the language. You know, they were big into that. So
fair play.
I do like that, you know.
Yeah, I feel sorry for
There will be people, but not enough to kind of get galvanized. You know, there's still a lot of hang-ups about Irish that would be difficult to get past, you know.
Well, we can try, you know. I mean, there's obviously a fault in the country. They got independence back, and just what have they done with the language, you know? Anyway, it's 0-0 between Dundalk and Arsenal. They're doing very well. That's fantastic. And Dundalk had a chance. Yeah. Angry Angel, I'm not sure where you're based. Where are you based, Angry Angel?
But I think now, with all the stuff that's going on now, this communist kind of like control, it's much more important than it ever was to hold on to our Irish. Our music, our language,
identity,
our history, everything. So, I think it's much more important than ever did.
It was under severe attack, you know, like never before. I mean, I think this whole thing with the closing down the churches, that may become the way of it now from now on, that they're not even going to be open full time. You know, that it might be just nobody's going to. It's a power grab. I think somebody used that phrase. I think Herman used that phrase. This is a power grab. They're taking advantage of this situation to say we're grabbing power off it, and this is the way it's going to be from now on.
Yeah, and the new abnormal, and you're not getting it back. I mean, there's restrictions being placed on us now, and we don't know the half of it. I think Tracy O'Mahony is gearing up I know she's been publicly talking about this issue, the power grab, as it were. And I wish her the very best, I have to say. I can't wait for that to go to court.
Yeah, she's doing well.
Yeah, she is brilliant. I listened to Dave Cullen this morning, and he was talking about businesses and how they're not fighting back enough. And he says it'll be too late when you see that your cafe or your pub is gone, and you're walking through the streets of Dublin, and maybe a few years later, that where your pub or cafe is now owned by an American company, and now then you realise that what's happening now had nothing to do with your health. It'll be too late at that point. And I have to say, I'm very disappointed myself that the business owners across the country are not fighting enough. They're not out on the streets.
Yeah.
They're not out getting together.
I think one of the problems for the business community, I mean, that's generally speaking my kind of background, is that they're represented by groups like ISME and
SME, ISME,
all of that sort of those groups. I know the CBI they're called in Britain. I'm sure there's an equivalent. IBEC, that's what it is. Those groups are absolutely embedded with the authority of the state. I mean, they interact heavily with the Department of Finance, Department of Commerce, all that sort of lot. And I'd say they're part of the problem. I mean, small business owners are looking for leadership, looking for guidance. They're sure as hell not going to get it from the people that you would think would be there to back them up on this, because they're part of the establishment. And you have to look at it. I mean, if you ran a small cafe or something like that in Dublin or in any small community, can you imagine all hell would come down on you if you opened? You'd have the guards in, you'd have the busybodies in the area who are all part of the, shall we say, the
groupthink.
The groupthink. Yeah, well said. And they're just going to make your life a living hell. And I think some of these people, particularly in the smaller communities, they're not going to be able to fight back against that.
Yeah, it's the ratchet effect. Once they take it away, they're never going to give it back, you know?
Yeah. And the fines are probably immense. I don't know what they are. So, I mean, these guys are living pretty much hand to mouth as it is. So if you suddenly stick them with a €10,000 fine or a €5,000 fine, that's the difference between, food on the table for your kids or not.
Yeah.
I understand that. What do you do? I mean, if they're not going to get back, they're going to be open for Christmas, and come down January, they're going to find another excuse to close them down.
And I agree.
You're only open for a month.
Yeah, if that, yeah. And we'll all be buying online. We'll be buying from Amazon and so on, because you won't be able to go to a shop here.
The screw in the high street,
Yeah.
Angry Zealand, he's from New Zealand, so I mean that's a very interesting point. New Zealand has, I mean, it's an island nation like ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Similar. Why could they not have kept? I mean, they saw this virus coming, right? Now it's either a serious virus or it's not. If it was serious, and they saw what was happening in Europe, why didn't they close the borders? New Zealand did it. And your woman that's won the election with a landslide, she kept it out largely, which is what we could have done. So they're either at best criminally negligent for letting it into the blinking country, or else they just deliberately let it in to do a power grab,
The EU, one of its the EU's pillars is freedom of movement, and they will go to the wall over that. I interviewed Ray Bassett here a couple of maybe 6 weeks ago in connection with his new book. And it's one of the points that he made is they will go to the wall over freedom of movement. And that's where we're scuppered when it comes to COVID, because the likes of what's running this country isn't going to shut the borders. It wouldn't matter. It could be bubonic plague and they're still going to have planes landing at Dublin Airport.
Exactly. I mean, if it's either a pandemic or it's not. If it's a pandemic and you're locking down here, you can't be bringing in foreign workers from Bulgaria to pick the blackberries or whatever it was. You can't have it both ways.
That's right, yeah. Keelings.
Yeah, we did a
But I
stream
mean,
on
what I was going to say, if they're opening the border to let people come in, but yet they won't let your daughter, your cousin, your son home for Christmas. That's the next one.
Yeah.
So they're letting everybody else in, but your daughter can't come home from Australia.
I think Eamon Ryan was flying a kite with that. That's not definite yet, but
I know that, but
it's certainly under consideration. Yeah. I'd there'd be hell to pay over that. I mean, I think if they can, they're going to try and get Christmas out of the way, and then come the 1st of January, it's like if you've got to fly out. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck here. There goes January and February as well.
But your man Harris, isn't it? Simon Harris, he's the health guy. He was asked about the potential thing about closing down people coming in. And he said, EU free movement we can't interfere with that, no matter what. So it can't be a bloody pandemic. He was asked that question, and that was his answer. EU free movement has to take primacy over free movement within the country.
Over public health.
Over public health, over everything. Yeah.
There you go.
It's a bit of they can't have it both ways, but
and no matter how you look at it, that virus came into Ireland, as far as we're aware now, from Italy. So it was specifically intra-EU travel that brought it here. Now I know it got into Italy some other way, but it's certainly down to people traveling. I mean, it started in China, ends up in Italy. Next thing, it's in Ireland.
Well, I studied virology and environmental health, and I mean, they were saying that viruses, it's free movement of people that brings viruses around, and they mutate from one species to another. They come around through the mass movement of people. They're talking about tuberculosis could be coming back as a threat. Cannot be a good idea. The forced movement of people, there has to be control over it. There has to be. Here's another thing. You can keep rabies out of a country, a dog disease that goes over. I made this point before.
Yeah.
But you can't control a deadly virus. Come on. So there's something not quite right about it.
Yeah, there's something
not adding up about it.
There's something at work here.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I don't know.
There's something more behind it all,
Yeah.
It's a power grab. It's like the EU trying to use the Northern Ireland situation as a power grab. That's a land grab as well. They're trying to grab onto Northern Ireland. It's like Northern Ireland is the sort of the problem child of the marriage. It was like when Ireland left Britain back 100 years ago. The Brits said to Ireland, "Okay, you can go, but we're holding on to Northern Ireland, right?" Now that Britain wants to leave Europe, The Europeans are going, right, you can go, GB, but we're holding on to Northern Ireland. It's like we're the little tug of love in the middle, you know.
That's it.
Again.
It's like, it's like we're the CD collection.
It's great to be wanted. Oh yeah, the CD collection. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Finn and Mara, the boy
the man just broke up, and we're holding on to the CDs.
That's it. Yeah.
No, it's a power grab. It's a land grab, and this COVID thing's a power grab, you know.
Jesus.
Anyway, I got a bet on Trump. I got him at 12-8 for the election.
Oh wow! I was thinking of putting a bet on myself. Funny enough, I was going to throw that in as a question as well. What do people think? I mean, at the end of the day, if Sleepy Joe wins, it kind of. I was going to put the question like, how do people think that's going to impact Ireland? I mean, he's clearly a globalist, so I think it really means the Brits, for example, are going to suffer with access to a deal with the US. There's no question about that.
Yeah, any kind of trade deal, yeah.
I mean, I saw a program about him earlier. He's had a difficult enough life. I mean, his son was killed and his wife was killed and all that. But I mean, he's very much on the far left. Now, the Democrats have gone very much to the far left.
Yeah.
They're not the party of John F. Kennedy back in the 60s.
Not by a long shot, no way. And it's funny because we tend to overlook the fact that the Democrats and Republicans tend to be further towards the right anyway. Yeah. So it's not correct to say that the Democrats were always of the left. They were left of the Republicans, but they still weren't left as we know left. Yeah. Whereas these guys that now, the so-called progressives, what do they call them? There's a bunch of Kamala Harris, AOC. Anyway, there's a name for these people. They are certainly so far left as to be bordering on socialist.
Yeah, they've lurched to the left. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've managed to hijack the entire Democrat Party. So this is there's huge consequences in the wider scheme of things if Joe Biden wins. Whatever about Trump being voted out, and that's democracy, you know. But as long as it is legitimate, we can all live with it. But it's troubling.
They have gone very far to the left. I mean, I would have always described the two parties as they were a wee bit like, in my opinion, Fine Gael, Fine Gael in Ireland before they lurched to the left. They were both kind of centre right. They were both just run by big business, and there wasn't much difference ideologically between them. But now they have lurched to the left. That think tanks brought them to the left, and Trump's not. You know, he's not. George Bush doesn't like Trump. So Trump's more just a sort of a nationalist. He's not necessarily.
That's it. Yeah. Well, the Bush, don't forget, the Bushes that's old oil money there. I mean, you know, these are guys who are part of the establishment. I mean, Trump is not an establishment figure. He's the absolute opposite of it. And that's why, even though he's a Republican president, he's Republican in name. He doesn't give a damn for the Republicans. You know, I mean, and he is, and I'm a big fan of Donald Trump, but he's certainly a very egotistical man, and we all know his faults. I mean, they're out there for everybody to see.
Absolutely,
he can be very unpleasant, but at the end, I'd far rather him in that office than any of the challengers in the process.
I would be worried if Biden got in, because you could end up with a war. There'll be a war. Trump hasn't been to any war.
True.
He's going to be backing up the Black Lives Matter quite a lot, and all the nonsense that's talked around that. I just think Trump, for all his faults, he stands up to that liberal, corrupt media, and that's why they hate him so much.
And he's no time for China. He's no time for what would you say? The EU in its incarnation. I mean, famously, there's a great video of him meeting Angela Merkel, and she turned around and said, "Will we do the handshake?" And he completely and utterly turned away from her. The disdain he had for her. I laughed when I watched it. I went, "Fair play to you. You've got my vote." That alone.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't actually like handshakes. He says he doesn't like the custom of handshakes.
Yeah. So. I saw him interviewed. Funny, just on that subject, I shared that sort of dislike for shaking hands. I always have done. But when he was elected president, he went out for a meal that evening, I think, with his family to a local restaurant in New York. And some guy, he was interviewed about it. He said some guy came out of the restroom and his hands were dripping. He clearly washed his hands. His hands were dripping wet. He walked over to Trump, put his hand out to shake hands. And the interviewer said, "Did you shake hands with him?" And Trump said, "Well, yes, I did, because if I didn't, it would have been all over the news that I refused to shake hands with him." But he said, "I didn't enjoy my meal."
Yeah.
So anyway, it's
But I mean,
bye.
yeah. So he did say that, but Trump to me does come across like, I know he's the president, but he's still the outsider. You know, the establishment, the media are behind. They keep saying that Biden's favorite and he's going to win it, and Trump's going to. I wouldn't be so sure. You know, I think the Democrats actually sound a wee bit scared. Some of their commentators that sound like they're worried, and I think that Trump could do it again. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I hope he does. I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not sure I have the nerve to stay awake all night. I might try and sleep.
I always try.
Yeah. The last time, you guys know I'm a big Elvis fan, but the last time when the election 4 years ago, I was in bed asleep and I got a text message probably at 2:00, whatever it was in the morning. And I woke up and it was a friend of mine leaving Graceland, and she texted, just all she said was, it looks like we're gonna have to get out of the USA immediately. And I thought that was a bit, what did that mean? I was half asleep. And then I suddenly realized what she meant. She meant that Trump was going to win. So I got up out of bed and I sat and watched the coverage, and I was absolutely ecstatic. I was thrilled. I never thought he'd do it.
It's just a pure fact to see an underdog win it, you know, because everybody's stacked against. That makes you want to have him as well. Because all the sort of the intelligentsia and all the so-called intelligence, want the guy, and it's like, well, sort of, I'm gonna go for the underdog, you know.
That's it. And of course, Clinton had it won. I mean, she put her birthday was yesterday, I think it was, but just before the election last time, she put up a photograph of herself as a young girl, and she captioned it herself saying, "This is the photograph of the girl who will be president," or words to that effect. I mean, she figured she had it won. It was in the bag, and then she lost.
Clinton, I know.
But
there's such. I go to America quite a lot as well, and there's such hatred for Clinton over there. You know, I mean, most American women actually didn't vote for her. The white women didn't vote for her, so she's doing something wrong there if she can't bring the.
But she was a very unlikable person. I mean, and the big mistake she made as well was referring to people who would vote for Donald Trump as deplorables. And it became a badge of honor for people to wear a T-shirt saying deplorable. It's just, she shot herself in the foot. Had she been a little bit more likable, she may well, I'm sure she would have won. In fact, she won the popular vote, didn't win the Electoral College.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be much more cut and dried this time. I think there'll be a clear winner, whoever it may be.
Yeah. See, Clinton, there was a thing there. Somebody was slagging off Trump because he had his attitudes towards women and stuff. But the retort that was made was that at least he hasn't been a rapist. You know, whereas Bill Clinton was alleged.
Yeah.
You know, and she defended rapists all her life through her.
She did.
Being embarrassed. So she can't take a moral high ground on things that Trump has said, but she apologized for. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
But that's a subject there, Angry Angels, talking about Freemasonry. We'll have to do something about that. Very interesting topic. I mean, the main office, there's a lovely building, actually. It's right in the same street. It's where all the protests are in Dublin. It's right up from the
outside the door.
From the door there, yeah. And there's allegedly supposed to be a tunnel underneath it to the Dáil. So, you know, and Daniel O'Connell was a lot of Irish people were. Daniel O'Connell was a Freemason.
Was he?
Yeah, and
I was in Glasnevin Cemetery during the summer for the first time ever, and as a dub, that's how I managed to avoid that. I do not know, but I wanted to go and see the Republican plot, and of course the Daniel O'Connell's grave is there as well, which is obviously the big spire, which is very, very impressive. But the Republican plot as well, I know we're changing subjects slightly, but to see the graves of all of those people, it was just Michael Collins and various other luminaries of 1916 to 21. Fascinating, absolutely incredible to see those.
Me and a couple of friends saw the Gate Theatre at the top of O'Connell Street. There are a couple, and the 2016 they had the 100 Years of the Rising. It was a great, it was a great museum piece there. They had Collins's car and all sorts of artifacts laid out of the Rising on the stuff. It was really good now. It's just down from the Garden of Remembrance, which is well worth it. Well worth it, you know.
And funny enough, the Garden of Remembrance, and not a lot of people would know this, is the area before they put the Garden of Remembrance in it. It was the place they held all the prisoners from the GPO and the surrounding areas before marching them off to Richmond Barracks. So it is itself, the back of the rotunda, it is actually steeped in the history of that period.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that, yeah. Okay. Karen, do you want to jump in anything there, or?
Regarding the Freemasons, that is a topic that I think we need to look at. But from an Irish point of view, we always seem to look at it from a British or American point of view. But from an Irish point of view, I think it'd be worth doing. I wouldn't be as up to date on it, but I need to do my own research. But you know, it's considering it's right beside the Dole, and why, you know, why do we need it? Because they're always trying to pretend they're open, that they do charity work. It's always men that are in it, not women. And why all the secrets they have, you know, why do they want to control everything? You know, put men into high positions like bankers and the government and all that. What's that all about? What is their history? You know, what's their main aim? You know,
We'll do a wee bit of research, and then we could do something on it. You know, it is actually very interesting. Some people criticize it in that they think it is part of the globalist conspiracy. You know, a lot of their members have been quite globalist, and that they're against sort of national. A lot of the criticism is that it is fundamentally, although they don't bar Catholics from joining, but Catholic Church bars Catholics from joining. So some people say, if you go back to what the Pope's encyclicals say, they barred them from joining it. So they must have been on to something. But some say it's a conspiracy to overthrow the Catholic Church because it is inherently anti-Christian. And they see the Catholic Church as the main strength within Christianity. So they want to destroy from within, which is why a lot of allegations are that the Vatican's full of it now, you know.
But, and that's probably why we're seen as liberal. You know, and obviously, even in Ireland, you know, like Dermot Martin and all the higher ups in the Catholic Church here, they're not willing to roll over. They're willing to roll over too much, where they're not pushing hard enough. And I mean, the younger or the priests in the parish church, or the parishes that you know locally, they're not fighting against enough, and they don't have that kind of backing. So your archbishop is not pushing back. That means the parish church has no support. But I think maybe if you had enough, there's not enough people going to mass. I mean, the elderly tend to go to mass more younger, and the younger ones don't. So you might have villages going to mass, but you wouldn't have a city, you know, or you know, a town. So you wouldn't have enough of a backing. That's the worst about it, I think.
See, the thing is, they take in a lot of religions as well. It's neither one religion or another, but some religions frown upon it, but some say it's linked to Jewishness. It's kind of the sign is quite like the Jewish star. But do a wee bit of research on it. We can certainly do. I've read a lot about it. Actually, you know, we could do a thing on it. You know, there you go. I mean, it's in every country. Every country has, and Ireland has it as well.
Absolutely, on business as well. As it seems to kind of have their finger in every pie, an aspect of every public life. And, you know, it's starting to kind of come round to it now. I mean, is there a link between that and communism? What is it that we're suddenly seeing the change that everyone probably had conspired? You know, it's not a conspiracy theory. What's happening isn't a conspiracy theory at all. It's just happening like lightning speed.
There could be a link between it and communism. It's on the same page. It was General Doherty, and that Irish journalist who's based in Paris, did a very good piece on it about a year or so ago, and he says that there's linkage between it. It sits on the left, if you like. It sits with communism. It sits with Islam, even though Islam is not left. It's you know what it is, but it sits on the left wing, if you like, against the nationalism and the way it's been used. And there's a kind of a Judeo conspiracy where there's Islam is doing the bidding of the Jewish ones that are behind it all, and there's linkage to the Freemasonic thing as well. So it's worthwhile checking, you know.
Right, okay. You seem to know more about them than me.
Somebody once said the 3 big evils in the world. Can you guess what the three of them are?
Well, power is one, and the greed for power.
Well, in the context of somebody said once that the 3 evils in the world were Judaism, communism, and Freemasonry.
Right, yeah. I mean, the Americans after the Cold War, during the Cold War, after the Second World War, with the 50s, the Americans fought so hard to keep communism out of America. That's how afraid they were, absolutely paranoid. Any inkling of it at all in their country, they stamped it out very quickly. And I think the FBI was created around that time, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that there was the start of it. Like, they were really, really pushed in getting it out of the country, but yet we're rushing it in like it was the best thing, you know. And that's what's frightening. I never thought I'd ever see this in my lifetime ever in my country.
But I think historically, the Americans kind of the reason there was such animosity towards the communists at the end of the Second World War was because they saw the way the communists behaved. I mean, at the end of the day, they promised to liberate Eastern Europe, Poland in particular, and yet they completely, within weeks of the end of World War II, reneged on all of that and put their own puppet leaders into power. So very quickly, the Yanks saw through the communists. And around the end of the 40s, I think the Chinese had their own issues, Mao Zedong, and there was somebody else. So the proof of the pudding was in the eating. The Yanks saw that and said, we don't want that here. And it was the FBI were formed, I think, in the late 20s around prohibition to do with alcohol and all that, and tax collection. But it was McCarthy in the Congress was the guy in the 50s who had his House Un-American Activities Committee, which was the one that was designed to root out communists who had infiltrated things like Hollywood and labor unions and so on. And effectively, they had a point, but they went about it all wrong. And now, sure, Hollywood is completely infested anyway with leftists.
Yeah, totally, yeah. Just to go back to that quote that I said, the 3 evils, that's not my opinion. It's not necessarily the opinion of our party and everybody here. It's just, it was an opinion that was kicking around just on that subject. Yeah. It's not the opinion of our party.
No, I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it makes sense anyway.
Yeah. But it's just somebody's opinion anyway. Right. I'll just give us an update on the score and it's 2-0. Let's just go on 3-0 to Arsenal. Right.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Just as I looked, it went 3-0. It was 2. Anyway, folks, Gura Mila Mayagav, chat the chat the nacht. Gura Mayagav, Fergus, nice to see you. Hopefully,
Thanks, Fergus, for coming on board as well.
Oh, my pleasure. And sorry, I had technical issues. I use Mac, but I don't use Firefox and all that sort of stuff. I'm one of these old technophobes. But so I'm always afraid to mess about with my computer in case the damn thing explodes on me. But look, all is good. So I have Firefox for the first time ever in my life, especially to be on this. And I won't delete it. I'll keep it for future reference. Okay.
Yeah, I use it. I think we use it at work for some applications. You know,
we'll get you in again, Fergus. Yeah,
thanks. Yeah,
brilliant. Okay,
I'm not sure how much input I have on some of the topics, but I can sit here in silence.
No, sure. It's just a round table chat, you know. But we'll be able to have a look at prime time and see what your man McNamara says.
That's him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair play to him.
Good.
Yeah, see what he says.
Yeah.
All right.
Credit where it's due. Take care.
Right, good luck.
To everybody in YouTube land.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Slán.